Lama will continue.
Okay, let's bring in Swaran Singh in India's capital, New Delhi, who is a professor of international relations at Jawaharlal Nehru University. Welcome to you. China says that it should have final say on who is the next reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. How does it kind of make that argument that a spiritual leader needs government approval?
Chinese, starting from 1793, have issued dozens of regulations over a period of time as to how various religious sects and their organizations will have to register. And they are trying to increasingly ensure that regulation is also meant monitoring and sensitization of these religious activities. We understand that of the total about 7.7 million Tibetans in the world, 6.5 are in China. But it is also true that all the Tibetans around the world and in China hold His Holiness Dalai Lama as their spiritual leader. So fundamentally, it is a contest between Tibetan religious traditions versus China's political ambitions or security concerns in that sense. And both have their own narratives which are pursuing, saying that whether state patronage and recognition is necessary. This is how Chinese believe it. But it's also true that 12, 13 and 14 Dalai Lama's reincarnations were not recognized by the Chinese government of the time. So there have been variations on both sides, and I think it is going to continuously be a contentious point, except that Dalai Lama himself has been on record to say that he will live up to 113 years, which means that this issue of reincarnation, if that comes true, will be postponed into future and may not become crisis in the immediate near term in that sense.
Professor, what's Beijing worried about? Why does it want to have influence here? Is it concerned about Buddhists or is it concerned about Tibetans?
Clearly, Dalai Lama has enormous sway and influence among Tibetans, not just around the world, but also inside China. And this has been documented by Chinese Communist Party's documents all the way from 1960s. They recognize that. And that is how they had also tried to seek reconciliation from 1980s onwards, which of course has not worked, primarily because of other major powers contestations where certain countries have used this issue of Tibetans' right to have their spiritual religious freedom and sometimes connected it to human rights violations in China. So in that sense, the Dalai Lama has also been utilized as an instrument in international politics, which is what worries Chinese if there is going to be any new reincarnation and there is a likelihood of Chinese reincarnation versus a third country reincarnation, and that could build further contentions and could create certain level of unrest and even violence inside China's Tibetan Autonomous Region, and that really concerns them. And that religious sway that His Holiness Dalai Lama has inside China is what concerns China, that in case reincarnation is contested, then possibly their own Tibetan population will side with the Dalai Lama rather than side with the Chinese Communist Party, and that is their concern.
I'm not going to question the legitimacy of the Dalai Lama's reincarnation, but the Dalai Lama did change the narrative several times, at one point suggesting that he might reincarnate as a mischievous woman, then suggesting maybe there would be no reincarnation. That changing of the story, do you think that this has been tactical? And even the ultimate announcement that there will be a successor, do you think it could be tactical coming from the Dalai Lama?
It's difficult to find a clear answer as to what could have made him, make those variations. I would feel safe to go by his statement that came out today on 2nd of July 2025, which fundamentally says that he will have reincarnation and that both the search and recognition of the reincarnation should happen by the Tibetan people. And he's talking of an NGO which is being set up which will be the authority to recognize, and no other authority, referring to Chinese, will be, the correct authority to search and recognize the Dalai Lama. I think that is the latest statement which has come about, which of course can create its own complications, because even if reincarnation takes place in a free world, as Dalai Lama says, it could be in India, it could be in another country, and that could raise its own issues of, where that 15th Dalai Lama will be located, how Chinese will deal with that. The historical examples of Panchen Lama, who was held in detentions from 1995 in China, as Chinese propped their own Panchen Lama. And of course, later also the Karmapa Lama issue. These could create a certain amount of misunderstandings, and I think could create tensions for China with other countries in that sense.
Swaran, you better go. You're clearly in demand. It's been great to speak to you, though. My guest, Swaran Singh, who is a professor of international relations at Jawaharlal Nehru University.